Nobita is a 10-year-old Japanese boy with a platonic crush on his classmate, Shizuka. One day while sleeping, the boy dreams of his friend. The girl appears at his bedroom window and calls him to play outside. Both begin to float away, and just as Nobita approaches Shizuka, his mother appears and orders him to wake up as he is late for class. At this point, the boy realizes that it was all just a dream and gets up, scared to find out he won't make it to school on time because he is late. Nobita is grounded in the hallway while he waits for the next class to start. This day is just another ordinary day in the life of this clumsy boy. While standing in the hallway, Sunio, his classmate, appears to mock him as the boy is again grounded. Then Jien shows up to start his daily taunts against Nobita. Although he feels terrible about his treatment, the boy never fights back. Seeing his friend in trouble, Shizuka decides to help him and orders his classmates to leave him alone. Besides being late for school and not being able to defend himself, Nobita could improve at sports and during baseball games. He can never catch the ball, not even when his opponent is Jaiko-jan's younger sister. In his studies, the boy needs to be more dedicated too. Getting the lowest grade on a test is normal for him. If Nobita continues like this, it is not hard to imagine that his adult life will be a disaster, but lucky for him, he is about to receive a little help that will completely change the course of his future. That night the boy is visited by Doraemon, a robot cat, and Sewashi, his great-great-grandson, who have come from the future and arrived in Nobita's room through his desk drawer. Upon seeing those two, Nobita is terrified and believes he is dreaming, but everything changes when he takes a peek in the drawer and finds a new world, and he gives his guests a friendly welcome. Nobita goes to the kitchen to get juice and some dry cakes. Upon eating one of those sweets, Doraemon is amazed. He claims he has never eaten anything so delicious. Nobita still can't quite understand what is going on for him. It doesn't make sense to be a great-great-grandfather if he is still a child. Then Sewashi explains that in 19 years, Nobita will get married and shows him his wedding photos. The boy is stunned to discover that he will marry Jako and finds that he will have a terrible life. He refuses to believe that will be his future and tries to shove those two strangers back in the drawer. Sewashi informs him that he has come here precisely to prevent Nobita from having an unhappy life, as if everything continued as it was, the boy was bound to have a bad future. As an adult, he was turned down at all his job interviews, so he decided to start his own business, but his company's headquarters suffered a fire, and Nobita had to take out a loan to rebuild everything from scratch. However, this debt snowballed, and all his descendants became very poor. His great-great-grandson returned to the past from the future and is here to help him build a different timeline. However, Doraemon is still unwilling to participate in this plan, so Sewashi uses programming to prevent him from returning to the future until he helps make Nobita's life happy. The boy then says goodbye and assures his great-great-grandfather that the robot cat will take care of him. He then returns to the future as he has a business to take care of there. A few seconds later, Doraemon tries to return to his regular timeline, but his nose starts to blink, and he is severely punished. Now all that is left for him is to stay in that world and help Nobita to become a happy person as soon as possible so that Doraemon can go home. The robot introduces Nobita to a fantastic invention from the 22nd century called Take-Copter. After placing that gadget on the boy's head, he pushes him out the window. Nobita is terrified and screams for his life, but before he reaches the ground, Nobita starts flying. This ability to fly amazes him. However, since he still needs to practice with that equipment, he loses control and passes ungoverned through the city. After almost falling into the river and being run over by a train, Nobita begins to get the hang of it and flies to Shizuka's house to say hello. However, the girl is already asleep, and Nobita reveals to Doraemon that he is in love with her. When they arrive home, the robot cat says he will help promote Shizuka and Nobita's union because he could return to the future. On hearing this, Nobita's legs shake with excitement as marrying his childhood friend would be a dream come true. The following day Doraemon begins to put his plan into action while Nobita is rushing out of the house to avoid being late for school again. The robot is already waiting outside and uses the magic door to transport the boy to school. All he has to do is think about where he wants to be and open the door. In doing so, Nobita is sent straight into the school hallways, and his classmates are surprised to find Nobita has arrived early that day. During the previous night, Doraemon gave Nobita the memorizer bread, and all Nobita had to do was eat the slices, and he would be able to memorize everything written for them. In class, for the first time, Nobita manages to answer all the questions on the math test and ends up getting beaten up by Jian for getting a higher score than him. When he gets home, Nobita asks Doraemon to help him teach that bully a lesson, and the cat gives him the invisibility cloak. With this new device in hand, Nobita, who is now invisible, runs towards Jian and strikes a few blows at Jian to get his revenge. During the baseball game, he becomes the best player by using a catching glove to catch the ball. While celebrating his victory, Nobita knocks over a vase of flowers in the school and is seen by Sunio, who runs out to tell the teacher about the incident. In the meantime, the Nobita weeps and asks for help from Doraemon, who, using the time cloth, makes the vase go back in time and be rebuilt back to its original shape. When the teacher shows up and sees the object intact, he believes Sunio is lying and punishes him for his misbehavior. At home, the robot gives Nobita the accelerator key. In this way, Nobita can finish all his tasks in the blink of an eye. To make things even more fun, Nobita decides to share the future gadgets with his classmates, and together, they shrink in size by going through Gulliver's Tunnel and building an underground tree house. Nobita becomes more popular at school and intends to use this to win Shizuka. But Shizuka only has eyes for Dekisuji. Besides being intelligent and good at sports, Dekisuji is kind and friendly to all his classmates, making Nobita believe he can never compete with him. However, upon hearing this, Doraemon angrily asks Nobita not to underestimate him. He then searches his pocket for equipment to make Shizuka fall in love with Nobita, and Doraemon finds the imprinting egg. Doraemon tells Nobita that when birds are born, they treat the first thing they see as their mother. Doraemon tells Nobita that he plans to get Shizuka into that egg, and after 15 minutes, the egg will be opened, and she will fall in love with the first person who comes along. Nobita then carries that egg through the streets but soon tires and decides to put it on the ground while he regains his strength. Just then, the egg rolls out and is about to run over Jian. Seeing the threat right in front of him, Jian punches the thing and pushes the button. Thus, the egg is open, and Jian is trapped inside. In order not to risk being the first person his classmate sees after coming out of the egg, Nobita decides to go away and leave him alone. After 15 minutes, the egg opens, and Jian emerges. Sunio is the first unlucky man Jian sees in front of him, and Jian begins to chase him, telling him how much he loves him. Meanwhile, Nobita and Doraemon watch everything while hiding in the invisibility cloak. They take the egg back to Nobita's room, and the robot cat uses the magic hole to open a passage directly to the front door of Shizuka's house. As Shizuka enters her home, she falls through the magic hole into the egg, and now all Nobita needs to do is wait for 15 minutes for that weird egg to work. Nobita orders Doraemon to leave to avoid being the first to be seen by Shizuka. A few seconds later, Sunio appears on his doorstep, asking for help. Sunio knows the giant egg is Doraemon's doing and asks Nobita to get Jian back to normal. During the two hide from Jian, who is crazy in love, Dekisuji remembers forgetting his book and returning to talk to Shizuka. Minutes later, Jian finds Nobita and Sunio and grabs Sunio. Nobita takes this cue to go to his room to find Shizuka, but when he gets there, she is already in love with Dekisuji. Doraemon appears, and Dekisuji begs him to fix the mess. Dekisuji asks the cat for help to get his friend back to normal, and Shizuka asks if he doesn't like her. Then Dekisuji replies that because he loves her so much, he doesn't want to depend on machines to win her heart. Even after using a hell helmet to reverse that effect, Shizuka states that she likes Dekisuji more than before. They walk away holding hands, leaving Nobita desperate and regretful. After this disastrous episode, Nobita hears a lecture from Doraemon, and the cat says that he cannot depend on the equipment for everything to become a valuable and successful person. Nobita will need to study and strive to do things on his own. That night, Nobita reflects on this and, the following day, decides to wake up early to start studying. Doraemon is surprised to see how much the boy has changed and begins to help him look for the upcoming exam. On the day of the test, the boy is very excited, but when he reads the sheet, all his confidence goes down the drain, and he later finds out that he has taken a new 0 for his collection. On the way home, the robot appears and asks about the test result, but Nobita says he doesn't want to discuss it. The cat curiously uses another of the inventions from the future to grab the paper in Nobita's backpack. At this point, he finds out that that test was an essay test, and Nobita has spent all these days studying math. When he is discovered, Nobita bursts into tears and reveals that he hates his life. When he gets home, he asks his mother to move far away, but she doesn't listen to her son's request. Doraemon tries to cheer the boy up by telling him that failing a test doesn't mean he will fail again and asking him not to give up. However, Nobita says he has given up everything, including his plan to marry Shizuka. Nobita says that he has made this decision after realizing that if Shizuka marries him, she will be unhappy for the rest of her life. Nobita says that since he is very fond of Shizuka, the last thing he wants is to get in her way. Nobita goes to Shizuka's house to return some books and is met by her father as Shizuka is in the bathroom. Still, Shizuka overhears the whole conversation, including the part where Nobita says he wishes her all the happiness in the world and says goodbye. Upon hearing this, the girl quickly dresses up and goes after her friend. She asks what happened, but Nobita asks her to return home. However, Shizuka states that she will only leave him alone once he explains what is happening. Then, to push Shizuka away, Nobita lifts her dress, his plan works, and after slapping that pervert in the face, Shizuka leaves. However, on the way home, Shizuka realizes that Nobita's intention was not to see her underwear. After all, his eyes closed when he lifted her dress. Later, when he meets Dakasuji, Nobita asks him to make Shizuka happy and leaves for home. Dakasuji finds his classmate's reaction strange and goes to tell his friend. Shizuka thinks about the possibility of Nobita wanting to take his own life since he went to her house to say goodbye. Thinking about this possibility, she runs off toward Nobita's house. Hearing Shizuka screaming for him at the window, Nobita asks Doraemon for some solution to keep her away, and the cat gives him the giant potion bottle. Nobita takes the bottle and drinks all the liquid in one go. When he sees this, his robot friend gets worried because just one sip is enough. A few seconds later, a dark mist begins to rise around the boy, and Doraemon is the first victim to suffer from the effect of that potion. His mother, who is in the kitchen downstairs, is also affected and runs out the door. Doraemon joins her, and Shizuka, outside the house, is also hit. However, just as Shizuka is about to flee, she hears Nobita's call for help and decides to go to him. Nobita feels ill after ingesting the large doses of the potion and needs help. Shizuka goes up the stairs and holds his fainted friend's hand. She manages to wake him up and helps him get to the bathroom. After vomiting that substance, Nobita begins to feel better. Shizuka reveals that she is worried because, for a moment, she thought her friend had taken some toxic substance. When Doraemon returns home, he finds the girl crying on Nobita's lap. That night, while the two friends are talking on the roof, Doraemon reveals that he is proud of Nobita because of the events of that day. The boy's future begins to change. The robot cat decides to let the boy have a peek at what is to come, and Nobita discovers that he will marry Shizuka and have children with her. However, this happiness does not last long. The following day the boy sees Dekasuji asking for his beloved's hand in marriage and begins to cry. Seeing the boy's despair, the two laugh and tell him this is just a rehearsal for the Cinderella play they will perform at school. When he gets home, Nobita finds that his future is constantly changing. After that embarrassment, his marriage to Shizuka is no longer guaranteed. Doraemon then uses a particular device to advance 14 years into the future and show Nobita his older self. The scene that appears is of Nobita as a young adult refusing Shizuka's invitation to climb a mountain. Upon seeing this scene, the boy realizes that he has not changed and feels ashamed of himself, and asks Doraemon to move forward into the background. Doraemon moves forward a little further and discovers that Shizuka is alone in a blizzard, seeing that his future self is at home in bed because of a cold while his beloved's life is in danger. Nobita uses the time cape to advance his appearance 14 years into the future. Nobita asks his robot friend to take him to the mountain to rescue Shizuka. However, Doraemon warns that if the boy uses the time machine, he risks changing the future, and this change is not always for the best. Still, Nobita insists on rescuing Shizuka, and together, they travel there with the help of the magic door. Nobita quickly finds Shizuka and asks Doraemon not to go after him as he plans to rescue her alone. They meet and walk together in search of shelter. The couple enters a cave and lights a fire, at which time Shizuka begins to cough, and it only gets worse by the minute. While Nobita is extremely worried, Shizuka says the answer to his question a few days ago is yes. After saying Shizuka faints, Nobita carries her to the magic door. Shizuka's pulse begins to slow down along the way, and they are swept away by the blizzard. During the fall, Nobita loses his glasses and sprains his ankle. It is now impossible for him to leave there alone. Their only hope is for Nobita to memorize the day and time when that tragedy happened and trust that his future self will remember everything and rescue them. A few minutes pass, but in the end, when Nobita is about to give up, the plan works, and the adult Nobita shows up to save them. After taking Shizuka to the hospital, adult Nobita shows up at the park to break the news to his younger self. He tells him that Shizuka is recovering well and spots Doraemon taking a nap on the bench. Before leaving, adult Nobita asks young Nobita to enjoy every minute he has with Doraemon because this friendship is precious. They say goodbye, and Nobita, the child, tells the adult Nobita that Shizuka said yes to his older self's question before passing out. At this point, adult Nobita cannot contain his joy and informs him that he has just discovered that he has become engaged to the girl of his dreams. Upon receiving this news, Doraemon and child Nobita celebrate together and decide to go for a peek on the wedding day. They spot the adult Nobita running to get to the wedding and start following him with the take-copter. Since adult Nobita is in a hurry, they figure out he is late for the ceremony. Not being used to the world of the future, Nobita gets distracted and almost gets run over by a floating train. Due to this distraction, he ends up inside a freight pipe, and Doraemon must help him escape. When the adult Nobita arrives at the wedding venue, he finds that his ceremony is scheduled for the next day. Sitting on the sidewalk, he receives a call from Sunio, who is calling to remind him that that night would be his bachelor party at Jian's house. Cloaked in invisibility, Doraemon and Nobita attend their bachelor party. At the same time, Dekisuji reveals that he was in love with Shizuka in childhood, but she always had eyes for Nobita. Even Jaco shows up to congratulate Nobita on the wedding. Doraemon and him decide to see what his wife is up to. When they arrive at Shizuka's house, they see Shizuka bidding her father good night. She is not cheerful and seems to be hiding something. Then Doraemon uses the truth transmitter to make her say what bothers her. Just then, Shizuka reveals to her father that she wishes to give up her marriage. She explains that her parents took excellent care of her all her life, and now Shizuka feels that she never did anything to repay them. For this reason, she didn't want to leave home. However, her father claims that the Shizuka has given them valuable gifts with all the experiences they have had together and that all the happy memories they have built during all these years are the best gifts she could have given them. Upon hearing this, Shizuka confesses that she is also afraid because she doesn't know if she can make her marriage work. Then her father tells her that she has made the right decision to marry Nobita because even though Nobita is a bit of a troublemaker, he loves her and sincerely wants to make her happy. These words are enough to calm Shizuka's heart and reassure her to experience such a special moment the next day relieved. Doraemon and Nobita return to the present day, and Nobita goes to Shizuka's house to promise that he will make her happy for the rest of her life. Seeing that his future has changed and knowing that his plans will work out, Nobita asks Doraemon to lend him the take copter and reveals that he is so happy he wants everyone to know. The robot cat's nose starts beeping, and he receives a notification that his mission has been completed. Now he should prepare to return to the future in 48 hours. While watching Nobita having fun, Doraemon begins to cry now that he has to go home. He doesn't want to say goodbye to his friend. Later that day, Nobita shows up, asking the robot to help him defend himself against Jian. However, Doraemon starts freaking out and says the boy needs to learn to protect himself because he wouldn't be there forever to help him. Then Doraemon informs Nobita that he must leave. Upon hearing this, Nobita is distraught and begins to cry. The robot claims that it does not want to go back to the future, but it has no choice because there is no way to bypass its programming by saying he doesn't want to come back. The robot breaks a rule and will be punished later. Doraemon tries again to cheer up his friend, but Nobita is unhappy with the situation and continues to cry. The robot reminds him that, at least now, the boy's future will be happy. Doraemon states that he would like to be by Nobita's side for the rest of his life and asks the boy to promise that he will manage on his own. The cat worries that Nobita will continue to be the victim of Jian's taunts. When Nobita hears these, he stresses. He gets up and leaves. Doraemon tries to go after him, but Nobita asks his friend to leave him alone. While walking sadly through the streets, Jian appears to hunt for a fight. Nobita's first reaction is to try and run away, but remembering Doraemon's words, he decides to stay and fight. A few minutes later, Nobita takes a beating but still doesn't give up the fight. It is getting dark, and the robot starts to worry about the boy, so he decides to go out and look for him. When he finally finds him, Doraemon realizes that Nobita is badly injured but continues to try and defend himself. Encouraged by Doraemon's words, Nobita does not give up the battle and only surrenders when Jian declares him the winner of that fight. When the offender leaves, the robot cat approaches. Nobita says that now his friend can go away quietly because he can defend himself independently. That night, after treating his injuries, Nobita goes to sleep, and the door stays by his side until the last minute of his stay. When he wakes up, Nobita realizes that his friend is gone forever but tries to get used to his absence. A few weeks later, Sunio shows up and tells him he found a legendary snake inside a concrete pipe. To lure the snake out, Nobita has to poke it with a stick. However, as he does so, Nobita discovers that what is inside is a rabid dog that starts chasing him. While walking home in his torn shorts, Jian comes running up and reveals that he has seen Doraemon. Upon hearing this, the boy excitedly runs home, hoping to find his friend. Nobita finds no one in his room, so he thinks the robot is wearing an invisibility cloak. To make him appear, Nobita gathers his coins and says he will buy dorayaki, Doraemon's favorite food. On the way, Nobita hears Jian and Sunio laughing at the April Fool's prank they just pulled on him. When he discovers that the story about having seen Doraemon was a lie, Nobita is overcome with rage and returns home crying. Although he has grown accustomed to Doraemon's absence, the boy misses his friend very much. Of all the horrible things those cruel bullies ever did to him, that was the coldest, and Nobita decides to use the box that Doraemon left before he left. By pressing the button, the object would give Nobita precisely what he needs to solve his problem. Nobita is given the lie potion by drinking it. Anything the boy said would become a lie. Nobita goes to his troublesome classmates and tells them that it is a beautiful day. As he says this, it immediately starts to rain. Next, Nobita makes the dog that attacked him go after Sunio, and through his lie, Nobita makes Jian's mother punish him. After getting revenge, Nobita returns home, and his mother asks if he has managed to find Doraemon. Depressed, Nobita says that his friend is gone forever and he will never see him again. However, to his surprise, when he arrives in his room, he finds his robot friend coming out of the drawer. Doraemon reveals that, for some reason, his bosses from the future let him come back to stay with Nobita. At this point, they both hug and start to cry. Still, under the effect of the lie potion, Nobita says that from now on, he and Doraemon will never be together again.